Again, thank you to Becky and Amber and Melinda for being our first guinea pigs of our collaborative month. It's really been great to have you here. We have 3 more presentations to go, and I don't want you all to miss out on all of them as well. Lovvet, you should be able to share your screen if you'd like.
My name is Lovvet Hollis, so I'm one of the NICU nurses at Huntington Health. So I have been a NICU nurse for 7 years, but I've actually only been at Huntington Health for 1 year. I love the NICU for its variety and for the connection to the patients. Like many of you guys said, like just seeing them go from a traumatic delivery, preterm baby to all the way to graduation, you really build a connection, and such a unique and such a grateful experience to have with the parents and to see them grow so much. And then as for my roles this year, I have been a part of the Neuro NICU committee. So we used to call this a small baby committee, but we also wanted to include our cooling patients. So we call it Neuro NICU committee now. I usually share information that I get from here with the Neuro NICU committee. And so then that's how we try to collaborate and to communicate that way. So it's been very unique experience. As for the journal club, I am part of the journal club. Is something I've only attended a couple of times, but it's very unique in that we get to look at the evidence-based practice behind their policies. So that's the journal club. And then I recently started precepting. I also participate in hosting one of the skill stations at our skill days. And I'm also working on NRP instructor training. I would like to be part of our Code White team. And I will be excited to attend the NAN conference this year. So I'm very excited about that. I was selected to go to Orlando, Florida to go to attend the conference. So actually my first conference with NAN, so I'm excited for that. And I've also been a speaker on our Black Maternal Health and Equity panel. So we chose thermoregulation. And like many of you guys said, that there's so many sides of this cube, you like want to tackle it all. There's a project within a project and so many things that you can find that you could do or make better, and you want to do everything. But it's definitely too overwhelming. And we came from a unique place because we had already rolled out with a small baby binder. And from what I observed is that some people were trying to complete it without really understanding why all the parts were so important. And in our Neuro NICU committee, Allison and everyone had agreed that maybe we should scale it back and we're going to focus on thermoregulation. And we also chose it because our medical director, Dr. Jamie Powers, was also presenting that we were having some, cool babies being admitted. Their temperatures were lower. So it was definitely an area of focus. For the tiles, I feel like we merged the delivery room and the golden hour because we're focusing from the time of birth, but I would say it's primarily focusing on tile 2. So we're focusing on the golden hour, and it would make sense that we would choose that time because we were focusing on thermoregulation and our admission temperatures and keeping our babies warm. So that's where we decided to focus. I did complete the NICU sweep focusing on thermoregulation. And so I just did a brief survey of the unit and got some feedback, and then just documented some of my own observations. And some of the things that I found is that I was really part of a supportive team. So we have an active nurses in the Neuro NICU committee and a strong interprofessional team. If you have questions or anything, everyone is there to help, and we all work together to support our babies. As for workflow, we had the small baby binder that had a part that focused on thermoregulation, so the thermoregulation care plan. And then also our documentation included areas where we obviously were comparing like our skin temperatures to the ambient temperatures, and we had different areas where we were correlating our temperatures with skin and with the auxiliary temperatures. We also had certain warming methods using the heated mattresses, blankets. We had things where we were recording what we were using. So that's what was part of the workflow. And then I guess it leads me into the equipment because We also have certain equipment that we were using. So the Omni beds were efficient, but we were also finding that the temp probes didn't stick as well when the babies are on humidity. So that was also somewhere we were focusing on, like, how can we make that better? And with this collaborative, we've definitely gotten a lot of information about that. Education wise, this is also for not only were we doing like that in our NICU skills day to educate our staff. We'd have monthly staff meetings to update our staff. And we also have morning meetings on the day of like when everyone works to go over like updates from emails. And we also provided education to our parents. We just rolled out a new education pamphlet, which is great. It has QR codes. They can scan different things in there. And so they were also able to understand why thermoregulation was so important. And then lastly, the P for our policy. There were several different policies that I looked at. So we had one for the delivery room management, one that was specifically on thermoregulation, like after being admitted. So it was included in our humidity policy. Yeah. So those were the main ones. So there were 3 different policies that I looked at. For team engagement, I think I've touched base on this. Our team has been very supportive, especially with leadership and management. Want to give great praise to Allison for inviting me to this committee and being able to participate. And then not only that, one of our medical directors, she's very active in all of our neuro NICU meetings and very receptive to what we have to say and offer. And then we work together to come out with something that will fit our NICU. Also, I do talk to the RTs briefly. I do, because we are part of a team and we're like, oh, how is our delivery room set up? And I talk a lot and I want to know, what is your perception of this? And I'm thinking of coming out, what this do you think you would be? And everyone's really, they seem supportive of it. I've never had anyone, I guess, say, I don't want to do that. They're like, let's try it. Let's see how it works. And then that's also with the nurses too. They've been very supportive, as in I'll talk to my colleagues about, we're going to start doing like a timeout checklist. How would you feel about that? And tell them why it's important. And then they want to be on board and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'll briefly go over these because I used a lot of different things. So the pre-flight checklist and the delivery room roles and admission timeouts, I looked at all of those and merged it together to see what would work for our NICU. We already have like a timeout, like admission form, but I wanted to make it specific to thermoregulation and for our small babies. So the monthly fact sheets, we've been putting these out every month. As we've been learning so much from this collaborative, we've been putting them out so everyone view them. And it's interesting because all this, it ends up tying all together, because I talked about the probes and how they're not sticking well with humidity. That's like, and then we talked about what can we use, the Mepitac tape from skin. So it all ties together, but it's still focusing on thermoregulation. But these have been definitely helpful. We've been putting all of them out, but we're definitely still focusing on mainly thermoregulation. Since we've been rolling back our small baby binder, we've decided to put just the thermoregulation and humidity one out. But I do have to say, I did use the admission and golden hour care plan to help with this checklist. But we're only going to be rolling out the thermoregulation care plan. So this is a checklist. It's long. It's actually 2 pages, but it is everything that is on our actual timeout sheet. It's not all new. A lot of it is not new at all. It's just adding the temperature, like the 15-minute checks. And then there's also little reminders from what we've learned from this collaborative. For example, like the giraffe temp should be, let's heat it up to 37 degrees and pop the top just at the time of arrival instead of leaving it open so it's all exposed. We want to keep everything warm. So I feel like it may look overwhelming at first, but it's not something that is new for our NICU because it was included in our timeout anyway. The only thing that's really new is these checkouts. Make sure you're looking at the temperature, the skin temperature, is the probe still on, and how is the auxiliary temperature, and checking especially before we put in some lines. Those are the main things of our checklist. We can go to the next page so they can see how long it actually is. And this is it continued. So they have that, I divided up for each 15 minutes. And also we wanted to adopt the recommendation to the scribe should be more experienced nurse. So we were going to be using our transport nurses if they are free. to scribe for us, so then they can remind us at each time point, okay, it's at an hour, have we got eyes and thighs, what antibiotics are being ordered, have we called x-ray for our lines, so to keep us on track so we can really get those tops down in time. And then we go to the last page. So our results are pending. We just got this approved. We're going to be rolling it out soon. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback. From what I've gotten from the unit and showing people in advance, they seem very supportive of it. But it's all about seeing what happens with our first admission, with everyone participating with it. So I guess I'll leave it open to questions.
Awesome. Thank you. You did great. You did good on time.
I was just going to say, we also, from this collaborative, because we've used the GE beds forever, like we had one of the original drafts, but we never had them come and do education. So they're coming at the end of June. And so we're really excited about that as well, so that our whole team knows all the intricacies of the bed and we can use them better for our babies.
That's great. Thank you for that.